Hello Rebel and welcome back to my life. Do you remember way back at the beginning of my vlog? I mean the very beginning. Back then this vlog was meant to be a way to report on my productivity and what I'd been doing and lessons I'd learned from that. So let's return to that for a little while at least. In the last 7 days, I have spent 14 hours in the chair working on my next audiobook and getting it ready to release. 14 hours divided over 7 days is only 2 hours per day, but I am still taking weekends off, so over 5 weekdays, that's still less than 3 hours a day. Obviously, I have to be a little kind to myself. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. My kids are at home. I'm having to homeschool them along with my wife. It's a little bit harder to get those hours in the chair than it used to be. But still, when on one day this week I did 6 hours in the chair, I think it's reasonable to expect 3 or 4 from myself every day, which would mean around about 20 hours for the week should be a doable thing. But it's not, and it hasn't been for a very long time. Let's talk about why. I'm at my most productive when I have positive forward inertia. If I've got good inertia going, it gets easier to get started on my work every day, and once I get started, it gets easier to continue on for more hours in that day. And I have the most positive forward inertia when I specialize, when I focus on one thing to the exclusion of everything else. For example, if I'm just working on my next book day after day after day, those days start to become longer and more productive as time goes on. But being that specialized and that focused on one thing means that I have to be confident that other things are either being taken care of or that I can ignore them with no consequence. And as a result, I am never actually able to fully specialize and focus on my audiobooks. And I mean fully specialize and focus. I'm never able to concentrate on them to the degree that I am able to concentrate on my next book. Because whenever I'm working on audiobooks, I am constantly and irreversibly aware of the fact that my next book is not being written. And this applies to way more things than just audiobooks. I can do great marketing and online advertising. I have done it before. It requires so much focus and attention that I can't do it forever because I'm always aware that I need to be writing my next book. I want to be recruiting other authors. I want to be building Underrealm up into this huge multi-author shared universe that everybody is contributing to. But whenever I focus on that, I am painfully aware that I'm not writing my next book. So this always comes back to, I'm not writing my next book. And why is that so important? Well, writing my next book is the only guaranteed way to ensure that I myself am able to earn enough to support myself and my family. And that is a very distracting thing. I don't know if you've noticed, but we live in a very late-stage capitalism society, and few things are going to distract me, you, or anybody else as the prospect that we might run out of the ability to support ourselves and the people that we love the most. So, could I cut everything else out of my life and just focus on writing my next book forever? Yes. Would that be the most beneficial course of action to me personally in the long run? Yes. Like, a lot, yes. Would that be the most beneficial thing for legacy books in the long run? That is a really difficult question. On the one hand, that would directly pull me away from the goals and aims of legacy books that I talked about in a video just a couple of months ago. But on the other hand, if I am not personally earning a living doing this, I can't achieve any of legacy books' other goals. It's a little bit of a case of putting on my own oxygen mask before I go help somebody else put on theirs. I want to do big things. I want to make the world a better place. I want to create art that uplifts people, and I want to change fantasy publishing so that it is so much less samey than it has been for a very long time. But more and more I'm finding myself in a situation where not only am I not achieving those things, but I myself am struggling to keep myself and my family supported. So it's the worst of all possible worlds. Humans are social creatures. We do best in groups when all the groups are working together. Groups are what enable specialization in the first place. If some people aren't mostly growing and making food, if other people aren't mostly transporting goods from place to place, art itself is impossible because everybody is just worried about where their next meal is coming from. And I'm beginning to realize that legacy books needs to embody that as well. I can't do everything legacy books is supposed to do. I just can't. I cannot do all of the advertising and marketing to sell my books and recruit authors and coordinate a story world that everybody is creating at the same time and simultaneously produce audiobooks for the increased volume of books that I want to be releasing in general and write my own books at a fast enough pace to please you and all the rest of the people who read them. So then if we're social creatures, I need to build a group that can do that. Now, I could go out and find a bunch of people who are willing to do that work for free, But that sucks. And because again, we live in a late stage capitalism society, the whole idea of partnership and profit share that I love so much and have tried to instill over and over again just doesn't work for most people. The two most successful business relationships that I have built in the last 8 years, holy shit, 8 years of doing this, are two very different types of editors. Karen Conlon, my copy editor who edits my books before they go to publication, and Jim Wilborn, my audiobook editor who edits the audiobooks before I give them a final quality control listen through and then publish. And surprise, surprise, both of those people get paid for their work at the time that they do it. Both of them are specialists. They've trained in how to do this. They're really good at it. And I just paid them money and they turned around a really fantastic product that I was then able to take to market and sell. And so, of course, the better solution is for me to just go back to what I was doing in the beginning, to focus and to specialize on writing and putting out my next book. Always and before anything else. And to do that until I have enough to go find another specialist who can advertise and sell the books. And to get them to do that until sales are high enough that we can just start paying and hiring people. Which is probably what I should have been doing from the beginning. I just had this whole idea that I could just bypass capitalism. Sorry. I might be downplaying it a little bit, but I actually really can't express how much it sucks to have just been defeated by capitalism. But yeah, I can't do everything. I can't hold down 8 different jobs, each of which deserves a full-time person working on that and nothing else. I can't do it. So it's back to focus, and it's back to specialization. My plan right now is I have 2 audiobooks back from my editor. I'm giving them a final listen through, and then I'm going to publish them. And I honestly want to get that done by the time I make next week's video. That's going to require a lot of hours, but I'm actually going to try to get it done. And I'm going to try to come back next week and report to you that the audiobooks are done, that they're published, that I'm not making the last 2 audiobooks because I'm just going to focus on writing my next book. And if that is successful, I will also report to you in next week's video that I'm going to be releasing that book in the old model of the episodes that I started Underrealm with, but it's only going to be coming out to patrons at first, and then it will eventually see a wide release on Amazon and everywhere else that you can normally read. So that's what I did over the last week, and that's what I'm planning to do in the new week. I'm in a very weird headspace right now, if you couldn't already tell from this whole video, but the lesson that I'm trying to learn from this is to go back to what was successful. Focus. I think that's a good lesson. If there's a thing that you do and you enjoy doing it and it's a marketable skill, focus on it. Focus on that and build up to the point where you can get other people doing the other things that you want to do. This actually goes way back to the early days of my entire self-publishing career and my podcast and everything, where it's a bit like genre hopping. Yes, you can write books in 6 or 7 different genres if you want to, but the time it's going to take you to build that up into an author career is so much slower than if you just focus on one thing, one genre, one series, one whatever, and just keep delivering that. So again, learning lessons that I was trying to teach people 7 years ago, let's give this a shot. Let's see how this works. And that is all I've got for you today, Rebel. I'm going to be putting out new Underrealm stories for my supporters on Patreon, next week. Pretty good time to be a patron, one of those people who are scrolling below my face right now. If you want to be one of those awesome and incredibly attractive individuals, click on the Patreon link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Friday. Bye!